Good afternoon. Come on, that was really terrible. Good afternoon. It's the last session of the day, so is this too loud? Is this too loud? Hello. I've got a very loud voice, but I know that they want me to use the microphone. I hate using microphones. Right, it's 4:30, and you're on time, so we're going to start. Anybody who comes in late, we go, boo, you're late, okay? But thank you very much for turning up on time. Now, 3 things to tell you. Number 1, the screen is very small at the moment, but on slide 2, it will become full screen, okay? Second thing to tell you, this talk is not 90 minutes long, so you don't have to worry about that, but it will be 90 minutes long if you ask me lots of questions, okay? So please, if you want to ask me a question, make a note. Anytime, any question, you are entitled to disagree with me completely. And if you ask me a question, I can tell you now, 90% of my answers will be, it depends, okay? So most of my answers will be, it depends, and the others will be, I don't know. But let's start. My name is Ken Wilson. The title of this talk is Only Connect. The subtitle is, now it's getting bigger, 7 ways to ensure teacher-student communication in the classroom. And I want to thank the organizers of this wonderful conference for inviting me. But that, which is this year's logo, can't be seen. So that's last year's logo, which can be seen. So thank you very much to the organizers, and also to the British Council, whose logo is always very visible, for making it possible for me to be here. Okay, so I better explain who I am for those of you who don't know, and those of you who may work in different disciplines. I am an EFL teacher and teacher trainer. I have only ever worked in English language teaching. I have never worked, for example, in a state school, and I've never taught any other subject apart from English as a foreign language. Nowadays I write books. I've written about 30 books. That's about 1 for every year of my life. No, but I've been a full-time writer of materials about the last 25 years. I write course books. I've written about 12 series of English language teaching course books and lots of supplementary material. Most of my course material is for teenagers, but recently I've started writing primary material, and I'm now editing primary material for Vietnam and China. I used to have a company called the English Teaching Theatre, which took a show for learners of English around the world. We don't do that anymore, we're too old to do it. So now I'm doing a master's, an MA in creative writing. I'm a student. I think it's always good if you're a teacher to try and spend some time being a student as well, okay? More about that later on. And the most important thing you need to know is that I work in a shed, okay? I don't have so when people say, which university are you part of? I say, I don't belong to a university. I've never held an academic position in anywhere other than a further education college, and I work in a shed. Here's my shed. It's a big shed. It has electricity and heat. So as you can see, even a London winter, I can work there perfectly happily. This is what it looks like from the inside. I recommend you should have, if you have a garden, you need a shed. Okay. I'm doing this talk because I've been watching other people teach for the last 15 or 20 years. I haven't had my own class, but I watch other people teach because I want to see how they teach, the materials that their students use, because I've normally been writing materials for those students. And in the last 4 or 5 years, of course, there's been more and more technology used in the classroom. And I love technology. I will say the first, before I say anything else, I love classroom technology. But sometimes classroom technology does not love us, the teachers, back. You know, it breaks down. You know, the number of times teachers go, so now let's, oh no, do this, you know, and the lesson collapses because the technology doesn't work. But I think there's a more important problem about challenge about technology, which is really about the connection between the teacher and the student. And I've noticed that sometimes, in order to use technology in the classroom, teachers have sometimes lost the ability to communicate directly with their students in the classroom. So that's what I want to talk about, to go back to so old-fashioned values, if you like, but at the same time, recognize that technology is in the classroom. and also to recognize the technology in your student's pocket or your student's bag is much more sophisticated than this technology. The smartphones that your students have is much more sophisticated, and it's worth using. I'd like to start here though. Anybody want to now look, if I ask you questions for the next few minutes, you probably don't know the correct answer, but that really doesn't matter. And rather you shout the wrong answer than just say, I don't know. If you were my class, you'd know this now, that I don't know is never an acceptable answer. You've got to try something. This, for example, what is that building? What kind of building is it? It's a house. That's a good start. Any particular kind of house? Huh? It's a lighthouse. Fantastic. Anybody try and guess where this lighthouse is? In England. Yeah, that's a terrific answer. And thank you very much for being the first person to do it. It's the wrong answer, but I just want to say, no, this is really important. She was brave enough in this new class to try and answer that question. It's not in England. Does it matter that that's the wrong answer? No, it's not in England. Where is the, come on. Yeah, but which countryside? Norway! Fantastic answer. It's also the wrong answer, but I really like it. I like the fact that you tried that. Where? Maine. That's a great answer. Now that is very close. That's the closest answer so far. So I will now tell you, it's actually in a place called North Rustico, Prince Edward Island. Anybody here from Canada? Anybody here from Canada? So I can't say congratulations on your wonderful new Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. Isn't he wonderful? Have you seen him? He's so gorgeous. My God, he's fantastic. Anyway, right. Prince Edward Island is the smallest Canadian province. It's the smallest province in Canada. It's the location for a story called Anne of Green Gables. Anybody know the story Anne of Green Gables? Okay, that's where it was from. My mother-in-law, Ruth, who was 92 about 3 days ago, she used to live in that lighthouse. She used to rent it from the Queen of England. I don't know why the Queen of England rents lighthouses, okay? But in North Rustico, there's also that's not a very good, never mind. There's a small building in North Rustico, that one there. Can anybody imagine what kind of building it is? It's a shed. It's a big shed, isn't it? It's actually a one-room schoolhouse. A one-room schoolhouse. All over North America, and probably in many other parts of the world, until quite recently, every child in a village or a small town would be educated in the same room, one-room schoolhouse. That room had children from the age of 6 to 14, 15, all in the same room. And then suddenly, in about 1958, came the most, that one's actually not, that's somewhere else, that's in the States, as you can see, came the most amazing piece of educational technology. And here it is. It's called a school bus. The school bus revolutionized education in North America. Because now, instead of getting up in the morning, walking across the road to the one-room schoolhouse, the children got up much earlier, waited in the street for the school bus, and went to a building like this. A big building where they could be educated in a class with other kids the same age. And you know what? The first time I went to Prince Edward Island was 40 years ago now. I met even the parents of pupils who were educated in the one-room schoolhouse, and they said they really hated it. They absolutely hated it when they closed the one-room schoolhouse. As parents, they said, every morning my children went across the road to the village schoolhouse, and now they have to wait for a bus and go 20, 30 kilometers. I'm doing a very poor Prince Edward Island accent here, okay? So the parents hated it, and the point I want to make, anytime there is new technology in education, somebody will complain. Somebody will complain about and it's not just the teachers, it's sometimes the parents. Now, so for about last 50 years, we've had classrooms that looked a bit like this, okay? What is wrong with that classroom? Well, the main thing I think is wrong with it is that everybody is looking at the back of somebody else's head. And it's amazing. I think I've watched 200 classes in the last 20 years as part of my research to write new books. It's unbelievable how the teacher says, so what's the answer? And gets a perfectly good answer from the front of the class, and everybody at the back's going, I can't hear. And eventually their body language says, I can't do it. So that's interesting. But now we've replaced it with things like this. There are schools in this world, I'm sure not here, okay, where every classroom has a screen at the desk. And even that is old technology now, because we've got this, which is much more flexible, every child with a tablet. And if you know about, in the most advanced country from this point of view in the world is Uruguay in Latin America, near Argentina, where from the age of 7, every child has a tablet. I'm not sure what's happened if they drop it and break it. I'm not sure. I really don't know what the system is. But from the age of 7, every child in Uruguay has a tablet. But let's go back to this one. I want to introduce you now to a young man I met 2 years ago. His name is Bryce Barnard, and he's from South Africa. Does anybody here recognize the name Barnard from South Africa? Anybody old enough to remember? Because his great uncle, Christian Barnard, does that name ring any bells to anybody? Christian Barnard was the first person, you know?
Heart transplant.
Correct. Thank you. Brilliant. Well done. You're now my medical expert from now on. Right. Did you hear what she said? Did you hear what she said? Why are you looking at me? Ask her again. Turn around and ask. She's the one. Turn around. Oh, you got headphones on.
First heart transplant.
Thank you. He performed the first heart transplant. Do you remember when about it was? 1920s, 1930s? Well, what do you think? What?
Yeah, I think
So what do you think it was? I think it was the 60s or something, wasn't it? Anyway, so Bryce is the great nephew of Christian Barnard, which has nothing to do with why he's here. The point is, I met him 2 years ago. He had just left school and was traveling around the world. Where is he in that picture? Blackpool, right. No, it's in Paris. You're quite right. It's Paris. Okay. And he said, I've just left school. I hated my last year at school. So, oh, why is that? He said, because they had a screen at every desk in every classroom, okay? And he didn't like it because when the teachers were talking to him, they both were looking at the screen. He said, we lost contact with our teachers. We lost eye contact with our teachers. Now, the point is, these are just initial problems about technology. I'm sure after 2 years, the teachers in Bryce's school realized they were losing connection and they did something about it. But it's worth seeing what the students think too. So, I'm talking about connection, remembering how to connect with the students. So, first question, what kind of students do you have? Do you have students who like reading? Do all your students like reading? No? Do all your students hate reading? No, some like it, some hate it. This is the problem. What about writing? Some of your students love writing, some of them hate writing. And what about this? Do your students ever get bored? Of course they do. Of course, they're students. They're supposed to get bored. Okay, and what about this? This is daydreaming. I used to be top of the class in French at my grammar school, okay? It was very easy because nobody was interested in languages. But the problem, as you know, when you're top of the class, the teacher keeps asking you questions, right? And I was in this wonderful place. I remember so clearly. I was 14 years old, somewhere in Planet Teenager, dreaming about something, and I heard Antoine. Antoine, as you probably know, is a French name for Anthony. It is not my name. But we all had to have a French name, and Ken is not a French name, so he called me Antoine. And every time he said Antoine, I'd say, who? Oh, me, sorry. Hello. And I heard, Antoine. And I went, oui? He said, as-tu entendu la question? Did you understand? Did you hear the question? And I'm honest, I said, non. He said, qu'est-ce que c'est le temps passé de prendre? What is the past tense of prendre? And I remember thinking, you know what? I'm 14 years old. I have more important things on my mind than the past tense of prendre. And you're a French teacher. You should know anyway. You know, that's the kind of attitude that you get. And I really feel terrible. I wish I could meet that French teacher now and apologize. Especially since his name was Mr. Woodcock, and we used to call him the most terrible names. Right. Or, and this is the subject of my talk tomorrow, some of your students are just plain frightened of being in the classroom. That's the subject of my talk for tomorrow. Students who are frightened of the class. But what I want to say is we've got so many different kinds of students. I do not think that putting them all in front of a screen is the answer to all their questions. That's my kind of bottom line about technology. However good the technology, I think it is only good for some of our students some of the times. So, before I start talking about my 7 strategies, who is this man, please? Who? Who said somebody Rogers? His name is Bill Gates. I once went to a talk about 2 years ago now, when I first got the idea for this talk, and I like to go to technology talks when I go to conferences, and a man said, if you aren't using technology with your class, you are shortchanging them. Means you're not giving them everything that they need. I thought, not sure that's true somehow. I felt uncomfortable with this idea that if you're not using any technology, then your students are suffering as a result. So I thought, I wonder what Bill Gates said. So I went to Brainy Quotes to find a quotation from Bill Gates about technology in the classroom. And he said this: technology is just a tool. In terms of getting the kids working together and motivating them, the teacher is much more important than the tool. Isn't that lovely? That Bill Gates said that. We should applaud him for that. Yes, there it is. The teacher is much more important than the tool. So never forget that. But as I say, from now on, I'm going to try and think about reconnecting with our students in the age of technology. So 7 strategies. Number 1, develop voices, yours and your students. Can you all just stand up for a moment, please? I'll only ask you to stand up twice in the whole thing. Can you all stand up? Everybody, unless you have a wooden leg, or you're pregnant with a wooden leg. That'd be interesting. Okay, now one of the, I think, the kind of dark secrets about teaching, and I'd prefer not to be using this microphone. I'm using the microphone for the benefits of the camera and for the translators. But I think that some teachers have quite quiet voices. Some teachers have quite quiet voices, and also so do the students. And the quieter your voice, the more your students start going quieter as well. And so there's almost silence in the classroom. And I think you have to work on that a little bit. I'm going to put the microphone down, sorry. Because a lot of us need to access our diaphragm when we're speaking. Now I just want you to say hello, but get your fists, put them here in front of your stomach, and feel a push when you say hello. Hello. Say hello in Arabic. But if you don't feel any push there, you're not using your chest voice, okay? You've got to find it. Diaphragm voice, chest voice, whatever they call it. So try again. Hello. Because you feel a push in your stomach. If you're not, you're going to keep going down and down. For some reason, music teachers talk about head voice and chest voice. I talk about throat voice and diaphragm voice. Some teachers talk like this, just from their throat. And it's very dangerous. If you want to teach for as long as I do, you must not do that, because you'll ruin your throat. Okay? So find that deep voice. And the students the same. So you're my new class. I want to, you can take your fist off there now. Right. But I want you to take a deep breath, okay? In a moment, not yet. Take a deep breath, and when you breathe out, I want to hear the sound Give me a word containing the sound Give me a word containing the sound Fur. Learn. I did this in this talk in Spain last year, and this boy said, work. No. Pronunciation class later. All right. But I don't want any words. I just want the sound okay? But when you say that, make the sound, I want to hear in your voice, I like this very much. Don't make any sound apart from but I want to hear in your voice, I like this very much. Breathe in, and... Did you hear the instruction? I want to hear in your voice, I like this very much. Shall we try that again? Breathe in, and... That was so much better. Unfortunately, some people are going, which is the wrong sound. The right emotion, but the wrong sound. So that was much better. What did you do? What did you do? You changed the tone. Did I tell you to change the tone? No, because everywhere in the world, if you're excited or happy, your voice tone goes up. Well, let's try it one more time. As happy as you can sound. I like this very much. 1, 2, 3. That's terrific. Now, second one, much easier. After 3, breathe in, make the same sound, but this time, I don't like this at all. I don't like this at all. After 3, 1, 2, 3. Brilliant. Third one, I don't think this is difficult, some people do. I want to hear, are you serious? I don't believe you. Are you serious? I don't believe you. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Sorry, that was I'm confused. Think about it. Think about it. Are you serious? I don't believe you. Try again. That was good. That was very good. No, don't say the words. Don't say the words. That was much better. What do you do to indicate that emotion? Again, it's international. Where does your voice go? Sorry? You play. Ooh, well done. You play with the tone. But what did you do with it? You lowered it? Really? So it went. What did you do? But what did you? I'm being technical now. What did you do with that tone? It goes up. Like that. Does it? It went up all the time. It went up and down. Did it? Yeah, I want technically speaking, what's happening to the sound? Did you go, that's up and then down? What do you... That's very poetic. That's wonderful. If you reflect your emotions. But I want to know, technically speaking, what happened to that sound? It actually went fall, rise. Fall, rise. That's fall, rise. That's fall and rise. I'll come back next year and do a pronunciation class with you, okay? But you were very good. You did it very well. And more to the point, you discovered your voice. I really Did I say you could sit down? Sit down. It's okay. You can sit down. Thank you very much for doing that. So? Yeah, it's intonation. Of course it is. Really? Really? If you're teaching the intonation of surprise, that's what you're doing, fall, rise. But don't tell your students that. If you want to express surprise, the intonation falls and then rises. Thank you so much for that. Completely useless information. Just teach good. Really? But in fact, it is so international, mainly thanks to Scooby-Doo, because Scooby-Doo the dog was all the time, right? I'm sure even your students are still watching Scooby-Doo cartoons on some timeless channel. Okay, and that's what I call sound of the day. And I think it's important to get your students' voices going. Think of ways just to practice sounds, practice anything. Sing a song when they start. Get their voices warmed up. Because if you start, and I don't know if anybody smokes here. I used to smoke when I was a teacher. And I remember going into the classroom going, good morning, Make sure you warm up your voice first. This is the advantage I found working with actors for a long time. Actors who all smoke and drink too much anyway. They come in early in the morning and they spend half an hour getting their voice organized, okay? I think teachers should think about that too. So, the first strategy for connecting with your class is to making sure you can hear each other. Make sure you can hear each other, that you can hear them and they can hear you. So, work on the sounds. Second one, talk about yourself. Now, there will be some people here and say, I'm sorry, what I do outside the classroom is of no concern of the students. That's fine. If that's what you believe, that's fine. But really, again, watching lots and lots of teachers over the last 20 years is the ones who walk in and say, do you know what happened to me this morning? What? And there's a wonderful connection already. And sometimes, in my case, I always invent things, that didn't really happen. But just to give the impression that something happened to you which may connect with what you're doing during the day. And I think it's nice to use photographs as well. The last time I did this talk was at the IETFL conference in Manchester in April. I haven't done this talk for a while. And I walked out of my hotel and round the corner and I saw this extraordinary wall painting. So I took a photograph of it, and the first thing I did in my talk was say, have you seen this? It's outside. Connecting. The camera on your phone is so useful. 25 years ago, if you took a photograph, you had to take it to the chemist in England, I don't know what you did here, wait a week, and then you get 36 photographs back. Now we all take 36 photographs every minute, okay? Use them. Use the pictures on your phone. A friend of mine in Greece said she started her lesson with this. As you may know, Greece has had a lot of problems with the European Union about its financial situation. And overnight, near her school, that piece of graffiti, beautiful piece of graffiti, came up. It's the word nein, the German word nein, which means no, and the sign for the euro and the sign for the European Union. Very clever piece of graffiti. So she started her class with that. Fantastic. Bring the outside world into the room. Now, the next picture I'm going to show you is a half selfie, okay? And I want you to talk to people around you and say, what was Ken doing there? Right, just talk to each other and try and imagine what happened there. Come on, talk to other people. Talk. You know the answer. Come on, don't just take notes, talk to the people around you. Come on, talk. Get talking. What is happening in this picture? Now, remembering that as a teacher, I want an answer, and I really don't care if it's the right answer, particularly with factual things. What is possibly wrong with a student making a factual mistake in an answer? You should not treat a factual mistake in this. Well, I don't think you should be angry about any mistake, frankly, but if you give the same response, no, of course not, to a grammatical mistake and a factual mistake, that's not a good idea. So I don't mind what you think it is. First of all, where do you think this could be? Where is it? Paris, France, Paris, absolutely right. Did you see me do this last year or something? No? I know I used this photograph last year. It's in Paris. Who is the man behind me? Is he a friend of mine? He's a soldier. And what kind of mood is the soldier in? Yeah, he's not a happy boy. I don't think he was more than about 20 years old. So I get from the class, and you know what? Whatever you think about photographs of yourself, you don't show your class, I want to show you 37 photographs of my visit to London. No, thank you, that's too many. But one photograph with an interesting event happening. I was outside Notre Dame. Anybody know what Notre Dame is? What is it? A statue? It's a church. It's a big church. It's a cathedral, thank you. I was outside Notre Dame Cathedral having a quiet time, and suddenly about 200 boys like him with big machine guns came into the square and surrounded it and did what I have a nephew who's a police officer, they kettled us, which means they kept us inside. And suddenly we weren't happy because all these tourists who've been standing around like this, suddenly we felt like this. So I said to him, can I cross the road, please? He said, je ne parle pas français. Je ne parle pas anglais. I said, alors, puis-je traverser la rue? He went, damn, because he didn't understand me the first time. He said, non. I said, pourquoi? He said, c'est pas important. It's not important. Why not? And then this man next to me, a German boy, picked up his camera, and he said, no photographs, in English. And the German boy said, bitte? I said, kein Fotograf. He said, I understand what he said. So we're all having this multilingual thing going on. And then this bus went past with some people they'd arrested who were just demonstrators. And as soon as they'd gone past, okay, everything's fine. And we walked on, That was the story. We all have stories like that happen to us sometimes, and you could use them in class. Now, the next picture is another half selfie. People who are from Britain might recognize the man behind me, so please don't say who it is. But the man behind me is famous, and I want you to discuss with each other, why do you think this man is famous? Here he is. It's me sitting in a cafe in London with a famous person behind me. So talk to each other, what do you think he could be? What is that man? What does he do? What does he do? I don't expect you to know, I don't expect you to know the right answer. What do you think his job is?
She said a politician.
Politician? Do you recognize him? Oh, well, that's very good. That's an excellent start. He is a politician. Damn, we're supposed to say sportsman, film star, TV personality. He is a politician. An actor, yeah, normally people, that's great. He is a politician. But often people say, is he an actor, TV presenter? Give her the what? The rationale behind... Very good, brilliant bit of deduction, excellent. Okay, that's great, because I said British people will know who it is, she assumed he must be a politician. Yeah, right, he's actually, do you know who it is over in the corner? British Council chums, who is it? Yvonne, oh, you're not going to say who it is, you don't even dare say the name of the man. No, his name is Nick Clegg, and 5 years ago he he was the leader of the Liberal Democrats, and they went into coalition with the Conservatives, which has caused us 5 years of difficulty as a result. And when I put this picture on Facebook, a lot of my left-wing friends said, I hope you turned around and talked to him about tuition fees. I thought, the poor guy was having breakfast with his family on a Saturday morning. You just happened to be in the same cafe. But you see, pictures of yourself and other people. It's really, really nice. Now, I'm going to ask you a very silly question. How many of your students have a smartphone? All of them. You know, I asked this question 2 years ago, and people said, oh, about half of them, but everybody has a smartphone now. And that was a bit of a duh question, wasn't it? So, do you let your students use their smartphones in class? No? Sometimes. Sometimes. Who says absolutely no smartphones in class? There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay as a, right? Who says sometimes? Who actually uses it as part of the class? Okay? There's nothing wrong with any of those points of view, okay? But I think it's actually quite helpful. So I'd like you now to switch on your phones, please. Switch on your phones, get them out, and after this activity, switch them off. If I catch anybody texting or checking Google or Facebook, please get out your phones and go to your photographs. I want you to go to your photograph stash, because I'm going to give you a photograph activity in a minute. Are you ready? Okay, it's called 10-second challenge. Have you all got your phones? Good, okay. Now, the 10-second challenge is this. I want you to show me, are you ready? And the winner, I don't know what the winner gets. I want to show me an animal. All right, she wins. She wins. Great. Hold up your animals. Hold up your animals when you get them. I want to take a picture of all your animals. So, okay. I want to take a picture. Please, everybody hold up their animals. Come on, this little table. Get your animals. No animals. No animals. I need lots of. I need lots of. No, it's not a video. It's a picture. Have you got an animal? Yeah, hold it up, hold it up. Brilliant. That's fantastic. And now I want you to show the animal to your partner and tell the animal, tell the animal about your partner. Tell your partner about your animal. So you can tell them about the animal differently. Yeah. Are you telling somebody about? Tell people about your. Is that one of yours? Is it your cat? Mm-hmm. What's that? Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah. She did a cooked turkey. Okay. I know it's difficult to get back to class sometimes when you give an activity like that. But there's another one coming up. Are you ready? I want a famous person. Famous person on your photographs. If you think that person's famous, yeah. Hooray! Well done. Who is it? Who? Oh, Erdogan from Turkey. You've got a picture of Erdogan on your phone, have you? Who's that's? That, all I can see is the tomatoes. There's strawberries. Your daughter is a famous person. Excellent. Wonderful. Who's your famous person? The Minister of Education. Oh, excellent. Okay. Who have you got?
The Queen.
That's terrible, isn't it? That's really terrible. It's not a very good... Oh, that's horrible. It's the Queen at the Wax Museum. Who is it? Ah, is your Queen coming here tomorrow? What time? Huh? No, is she coming to the conference? What time? What time is she speaking? Is she not speak? Because last year she gave a speech. She was amazing. I listened to it in Arabic. I don't speak a word of Arabic. I just fell in love with her. It was just a fantastic speech. No, she's a brilliant speaker. I hope she's speaking as well, because she talks about education for girls and stuff, doesn't she? She's great. Okay. Now, the third one, completely a pair work thing. Show your partner a photo that means something important to you, just for your partner, and why it's important. Thank you for doing that. Now, please, I'm going to be serious. Put your phones in your bag. I don't want to see anybody checking their phones from now on. If I see you checking your phone, I will ask you to stand up and sing a song. I'm serious. Put your phones away now. Put them away. Away. No, in your bag. Not just on there. I do not want people getting bored. If you get bored, put your hand up and say, I'm bored. Don't look at your phone. Put your phone in your bag. Phone withdrawal. I'm going to talk about phone withdrawal tomorrow. Now, maybe last year on Facebook, there was this image. Who is this man? Albert Einstein. And this quotation. I fear the day that technology will surpass our human interaction. The world will have a generation of idiots. And it came along with this picture of young people doing something they never did 20 years ago, which is reading. Young people do a lot of reading these days because of this. It's fantastic. 20 years ago, you could not get... I have teenagers who are now... I have daughters who were teenagers 20 years ago. You could never get them to read. Now they won't stop reading. But the thing I have to tell you is that is nonsense. He did not say that. It's an invented quote. So this is the quotation you need to remember. Do not believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with a quote next to it. Albert Einstein. And of course, Albert Einstein didn't say that either, did he? Who said that? It was Abraham Lincoln, of course. Okay. So I think it's really valuable to use your students' technology in the classroom, but for a limited amount of time. If you let students keep their phones in front of them, they will start checking social media. So you've got to be controlled about it. Okay, strategy number 4. Teach unplugged. I'm sure some of you have heard this expression before. I will explain it if you haven't. Teach unplugged. What does teach unplugged mean? Well, let's go back to the beginning. Does anybody know who this man is? You girls at the back, do you know who it is? It's Scott Thornbury. If you know the answer, shout it out. If nobody else shouts it out, shout out the answer. His name is Scott Thornbury. He's a New Zealander. He lives in Barcelona. And amongst native speaker British teachers, he's probably the #1 guru methodologist. And about 12 years ago, Scott wrote an article saying, we must stop using course books, textbooks. Why am I telling you this? I make a living by writing textbooks, right? But he said textbooks are becoming a barrier between the teacher and what the students can and need to say. What they can say and what they need to practice in order to improve. He gives a wonderful example. He was sitting in a classroom in Mexico City on a Monday morning watching a class, and the teacher came in and said, "Good morning, everybody," and the student said, "This is Mexico, okay? Try it. Good morning, everybody. Buenos días, todo el mundo. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Quieres que lo haga en español? Puedo hacerlo, eh? No hay problema. Sorry. No, try and wake up a bit, okay? You're all falling asleep again. It's a Mexican Monday morning. You're all 14. No, you're not 14. They're adults, okay? And I say, "Good morning, class." Good morning. No, say it in English. Come on, say it. Good morning. And he said, "Did you have a good weekend?" Yeah. And he said, Jorge was sitting at the front. He said, "Jorge, did you have a good weekend?" And Jorge said, "Yes, I had a very good weekend." And the teacher said, "Why?" And Jorge said, "I got married." And the teacher said, "Really? Open your books at page 26. Now, you see the problem here. Now, you're supposed to think that part's funny. That is very funny, because the teacher ignored this very interesting fact and said, "Open your books at page 26. He completely ignored a very interesting avenue of discovery. Now, if you teach 14-year-olds, they will not come in and say, "I got married at the weekend," okay? But the fact is, if you start off by finding out what people did, and then you can make the lesson, at least part of the lesson, based on that. The problem with Scott, he says things like, you can walk into a classroom with a bus ticket, and you can have a 45-minute lesson based on the bus ticket. Don't worry, I don't think you can. He can, because he's rather brilliant. Most people can't. So we needed somebody else to kind of calm down his ideas. And along comes this guy. Anybody recognize him? Who is it, Susan? Yes, well done. 50% correct answer. Luke something. Luke begins with M. Luke Matthews or something. Meddings. His name is Luke Meddings. And Luke met Scott, and they started talking about how to devise a system where you would walk into the classroom and basically teach without books. Okay? And they wrote this book called Teaching Unplugged. Very clever. They wrote a book about not using books. Clever people. And they call their movement the Dogma ELT. D-O-G-M-E. Dogma ELT is the name of the movement which Scott and Luke started, which is about using students to provide the starting point of a class. Now, where did they get this expression from? What is dogma? Anybody know who this man is? Okay, he's actually a playwright, a film director, called Lars von Trier. He's from Denmark, and he's part of the Dogma movement. About 25 years ago, a whole bunch of Scandinavian filmmakers said, we're going to stop making Hollywood-style films, we're going to make real films in real time. If it's a 2-hour film, the action will take 2 hours. We will improvise the dialogue. We will only use things that are around us. The Dogma film movement kind of died a death. This is the most famous Dogma film. It's called Festen. It's about people having dinner. And it's the most boring film I've ever seen. I will never get those 2 hours back. Okay. So the Dogma film business kind of died a death. But Dogma ELT, as we say, goes from strength to strength. And it has basically 3 parts to it. It's materials light. You don't walk in with lots of worksheets and books and things like that. It's conversation driven. You start a conversation with the class. Not just what did you do last night. Other ways of doing it as well. And this is the most important point. If you start a conversation, your students will then find out things they really need to learn just to extend what they can already do, like the ripples when you throw a stone into the water, okay? The idea is to extend in the directions that your students need. Now, don't worry, I'm not recommending teaching unplugged as a new system because there's lots of reasons not to do it. Number 1, you can't do it with beginners. Number 2, if you have an examination class, it's quite difficult. And number 3, and probably the most important, a lot of students quite like using books, okay? But 2 years ago, I became a student again. I told you I'm doing a master's now. Before that, I studied a language. Which language did I study? Was? French? Schnell fragen, schnelle Antworten, Beratung. Das ist Deutsch. Ja, ich müsste ein bisschen Deutsch lernen. I had to learn a little bit of Deutsch. German. Warum müsste ich Deutsch lernen? Why did I have to learn English? Because I was going to this place here. Where is it? Now, you know the rules now. Just shout out any answer you want. Where is that city?
Heidelberg.
What?
Heidelberg.
Hanover?
Heidelberg.
Heidelberg. Great answer. It's down there. Yes, it's down in that general direction. It's actually Bamberg. It's in Germany. Beautiful city. Why was I going there? Because I was going for the wedding of these 2 people. The man on the left is my Spanish nephew, Enrique. My wife's brother is married to a Spanish woman. That's why I have a Spanish nephew. And his now wife, Regina, who is German, but she was born in Kazakhstan. I have a rainbow family now, it's wonderful. And when she joined, she added 2 nationalities, German and Kazakh. But about 3 years ago, she is one of the nicest people on the planet. And 3 years ago, she came up to me in Canada, when we were all in Canada, visiting the mother-in-law I told you about. She said, Ken, I want you to do me a favor. And I'll never forget my reply. I said, Regina, I will do anything for you that is legal for the uncle of your future husband to do. She said, I want you to do 2 things. I want you to make a speech at our wedding. I went, okay. I said, are you sure? She said, yeah, because you'll be the only person there who speaks German, Spanish, and English. I said, doch, ich spreche nicht so gut Deutsch. Doch, she said, du sprichst sehr gut Deutsch. And I thought, I don't really speak sehr gut Deutsch. So I thought, I'm going to have to go back to night school. I went to night school. I got this book, Willkommen, which means welcome. And it has a piece of chocolate or some kind of biscuit that says, Ich liebe dich, which means I love you. I thought, this is perfect. This is a perfect book. Willkommen, ich liebe dich sounds like the start of my speech or my song, So I went to class. The first thing I must say is my teacher was wonderful. She was a lovely teacher, good attitude, lovely voice, and very well prepared. I couldn't fault her as a teacher. But when she told us about her course design, she told us in English what her course design was. She said, this term, we will be talking about past holidays, which is a euphemism for we're going to practice the past tense, right? And then she said, we're going to chat about health issues and illness. I looked around the room. I was almost the youngest student in the class. I thought, I can't wait to discuss health and illness with that woman who's about 85 years old over there. You know, du hast was? Entschuldigen Sie, ich weiß nicht, was sagt man auf Deutsch, hemorrhoids. You know, I mean, I just couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine. And then she said, we're going to describe weather features. I thought, oh no, because basically this was the what was in the book. Exactly, unit by unit, what was coming up. And I get so fed up with weather, the weather unit. In language course books, apparently when we talk about the weather, we always say, it will rain. We always say, it will rain. What will the weather be like tomorrow? It will rain. I've never heard that expression in my life. And I come from Manchester, where it always rains. So what's it going to look like tomorrow? I don't know, probably rain. That's how we say that. We don't say, what will it be like tomorrow? It will rain. So it's nonsense, that kind. And it's the same in German. The German was just as bad. Use simple telephone terminology. That's quite useful. Write a CV. Too late for me, sorry. And anyway, but so the point is, I think what she needs, and every lesson, I was the worst student in the class because I kept trying to take us away and talk about something else. And she didn't like it. So the point is, keep using your books. But if something happens that changes, somebody says something interesting, follow it, abandon the plan, follow the trail, and just see what happens. Allow your students to dictate what happens in class, not always the book. If you hear yourself saying, I'm sorry, we haven't got time to do that, we have to do this in the book, try and stop saying that. Try and find a way of avoiding it. Give more time to the students. Okay, occasionally. Okay. And by the way, that's the result of that wedding, is a baby. Ah. You're supposed to go, ah. What's the matter with you guys? Come on, it's almost the end of the day. Ah, nice. That's Enrique and Maria Cristina Eugenia. Sorry, no, I can't remember what I find the name is. Okay, number 5. Do something unexpected. Can you 3 please stand up? 1, 2, 3. And can you find 2 men to join you? Any 2 men? Hmm? Why not? Let's keep it simple. All right, come on to the front of the class. You know, you're my class. I work so hard to make you feel happy. You all look absolutely exhausted. I can see that. You've been working hard all day. So let's do something different. Stand in the line. Boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl. Boy, girl, boy. Go on. Girl, boy, girl, boy. Go in there. No. Right. Move down a bit. Move down a bit. Okay. Right, come on, move down with them. Right. Everybody looks so nervous, really. Right, what's your name?
Lubna.
Lubna, and what's your name?
Nader.
Again?
Nader.
Nader. Lubna, Nader. I'll learn your names as best I can. Now, I want you to turn to Nader and say, what time is it? Angrily. Ask him, but angrily.
What time is it?
That's great. That's excellent. But was he angry? Was he angry, yes or no? No. Right, try a bit angrier.
What time is it?
That's fantastic. But do you think she can be more angry?
Yeah.
Okay, more.
What time is it?
Excellent. And then you say to her, what? Angrily.
What?
Excellent. Repeat the question.
What time is it?
And you say, I don't know.
I don't know.
Angry.
I don't know.
Excellent. Stop smiling. You can't. So you say, ask her.
Ask her.
Perfect. Perfect. No, not rising. Ask her. Falling intonation.
Ask her.
Excellent. Perfect. That was brilliant. Now all the way down the line, okay? Off you go. Angry. No, wait. We start here. Angry. Go on. Angry. Same thing.
To ask him.
Yes, again.
Okay. I'm not that angry. What time is it?
I don't know.
No, you missed the line out. What?
What?
Try again. Go on.
What time is it?
I don't know.
Is that it's much easier when you're sitting down, okay? What line is he missing? Right. What or what? Which one? Up or down? Up. Right. Start again.
What time is it? Now I'm going to start.
What?
What time is it?
What?
We'll come back tomorrow. I don't know. Second time. You're doing fantastic. It's really, really good. I don't know the second time. Right. Start again. This is going to be it. This is it. Start again.
What time is it?
What?
What time is it?
I don't know.
What time is it?
No, you know what time it is. I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you. So tell him calmly.
It's, I don't even know.
What time is it? What time is it? 5:30. And I want you to say thank you, but a big thank you.
Thank you.
Bigger, more.
Thank you.
More. Yeah, more thank you.
Thank you very much.
Only the 2 words. You can't say any more. Yeah. Big thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Tell her.
The time?
Yeah.
It's 5:30. Thank you.
It's 5:30.
Thank you.
It's 5:30 now.
Thank you.
Right, okay. Right, well done. All right, take a seat. And then you get another 5 up. So you bring another 5 students up, say, but now I want a different question. And they'll go, I want to, come on, any question will be okay. Oh, I don't know. I said, come on, doesn't matter. You have to get this doesn't matter attitude into your students, because students are so worried about making mistakes. And mistakes are good. Mistakes are good. What's for lunch? What's for lunch? Excellent, okay. So then they do the same thing. What's for lunch? What's for lunch? I don't know. But what's funny is that often, eventually, if you do this for the first time, the students say, what's your name? Okay. Now the thing is, what's your name doesn't work. But if you say no, they'll go, oh, sorry, I tried. You asked me a question, and I tried to answer it, and you don't like my answer. I'm never going to answer another question. So you say, what's your name? Let's try that. And it's really nice. He goes, what's your name? What's your name? I don't know. Ask him. Which clearly doesn't work. So, now that was an interesting question, but it doesn't work. Rather than saying no, it doesn't work. So what kind of questions are we looking for? Like what time is it? What's for lunch? What kind of questions are we looking for? Sorry? Unexpected? Well, do you want to go to Monte Carlo is an unexpected question, but that's not the kind of, it's a question that requires information, right, that is general, not just personal to you. What's your name? How old are you? Those things don't work. A general information question. Now, why did I do that? Because we've been in the classroom for about 40 minutes and you look, frankly, a bit tired. You've had a long day, so I do something unexpected. That is what I did. It's called What Time Is It? And if you're interested, it's from a book I wrote called Drama and Improvisation, which has about 60 activities just for that reason, to fill in when your students are getting a bit tired. Do not use them as icebreakers. I want to argue against this ridiculous expression, icebreakers. With a class that you have every day, you do not need icebreakers, right? You need them to get started. When they walk into your class, they probably have more energy when they arrive than at any other time in the class. So start doing some work, but then that energy will dip. The energy will disappear. That's when you need a break activity, which I would call them. Okay, almost at the end. Number 6. This one's a mystery. I'm going to tell you a story first. But first of all, this is a painting of my hometown. Anybody want to guess where it is? Again, I don't mind if you get it wrong. India, excellent. My hometown in India. It's not in India. Morocco, my hometown. I mean, where I was born, the town where I was born. Sorry? Toronto. Wow, does Toronto look like that? Do I sound Canadian? I'm not Canadian, I'm British. Sorry? Jerusalem. Does it look like Jerusalem? Do I look like I was born in Jerusalem? No, it's actually a town near Manchester. It's a painting. A famous painting by this man. The city is called Salford. It's next to Manchester, and his name is L.S. Lowry. Lowry painted pictures of Salford in the 1930s because he felt that industry was beginning to dehumanize society. So he had the big factories and the small people going to the factories. Now, I'm very happy I'm from Salford. Yvonne over there is from somewhere quite close by, from Manchester, and it's a lovely place to come from. It's also a nice place to get out of and go somewhere else. So I live in London now. But I went to grammar school. That's me when I was 17 years old at grammar school. Now this grammar school closed in 1975. The grammar school closed in 1975. But every year they have an old boys' dinner. An old boys' dinner. And some of the boys are very, very old, I'll tell you. And my two brothers, who are older than me, are on the committee which organizes the old boys' dinner. And every year, for 30 years, they said, come and talk at the old boys' dinner. Make a speech. It's what you do. I said, listen, guys, I make speeches, but I do not make speeches for all men, you know, the youngest of whom is about 50 and the oldest is 95, you know. And also, I'm sorry to tell you this, but by the time they make the speeches, everybody's drunk anyway, you know. I said, I do not make speeches for all men who are drunk. I make speeches for men and women who are not drunk, okay? Right. But eventually I said, okay, I will come and do a talk at the old boys' dinner. And I did it about 4 years ago. And I said, I'm going to talk about teachers. There are 3 kinds of teachers. There are teachers who inspire you. And I said to this group of people in about 2011 or something, I remember a history teacher who inspired me. And they all shouted out his name before I even got to the end of the sentence. I said, that's right, Ernie Ashton. And they gave him a round of applause. Some of these people were in his class 50 years ago. But the mention of his name, the very mention of his name, made people start applauding. I thought, I'm doing very well here. You know, this speech is going very well. I've just gone one sentence, I got a round of applause. I said, there are also teachers who actually frighten you. And in those days, they could hit you with a stick and a slipper, right? I said, there was a music teacher, and this is my exact words, there's a music teacher, I'm not going to say what his name was, and somebody shouted out the name immediately. They were all frightened of him 50 years later, right? Somebody came up to me afterwards and said, that man should never have been allowed in the classroom. You know, he was a psychopath. I thought, that's a bit strong. but you know, teachers have that kind of effect on you. Teachers, now none of you here, I know that none of you here would hit your students with a stick. But the fact is, what students do like is we don't like teachers who come in looking like that. You know, the fact is, if you wake up in the morning, it's raining, your dog is ill, your bicycle doesn't work, your partner's arguing with you, that is not your student's fault. By the time you get into the classroom, smile, okay? A smile costs nothing, and it does so much. It does so much. I want to show you another image so that's my personal experience of students remembering their teachers later. But look at this nice photograph here. So it says, be memorable. Is the numbers a strategy. But look at this picture. Can you see the picture? Looks like a man with a very large head and a young woman. Actually, this woman here, her name is Van. Her family name is Ta, but her first name is Van. And she is an artist who works on a book that I'm writing for Vietnam. And she left art school 20 years ago. She's actually 41 years old. She looks pretty good for 41. But they went to a 20th anniversary of leaving their art school. And what they all did was that they brought along pictures of their favorite teachers, cut out pictures. And they sat around and they talked about their favorite teachers. Here's another one. See, 3 of the teachers. I think that's absolutely wonderful. So I want you to just think about teaching is a very difficult job. It's tiring, we don't get paid enough. But you know what? It's better than being a dentist. People do not sit around and say, oh, do you remember that wonderful dentist from 20 years ago? They don't do that. But with teachers, I think it's worth trying to be nice to your students, trying to be memorable so that 50 years from now, when they sit around having a cup of coffee, they will remember you with great affection, okay? It's worth it as a teacher. It's worth working that bit harder. Now, this 7th one is really not for you people. It's for nests. What is a nest? Anyone know what a nest is? A nest is a native English speaker teacher like me. I teach English to people who don't teach English. Most of you are not nests. You're non-nests, non-native English speaker teachers. Okay? And the thing is, if you meet a British person or an American who speaks a foreign language really well, almost invariably, almost always, you will find they learnt it because they lived in the country where that language is spoken. I speak Spanish really well because I lived in Spain, okay? And almost every native speaker teacher that you meet who speaks the language well speaks it because they learnt it while they were living in another country. Not the option that you had, okay? I think it's really important for native speakers to connect with their students, to go and learn a language, another language, like I did with German. I had a reason to learn the German, to make the speech and to write the song, but I think it's really helpful. So most of you are not native speakers, so don't worry about that one. So, I've almost finished. Why is this talk called Only Connect? Well, there's a novel by E.M. Forster called Howard's End. You may have heard of E.M. Forster, wrote novels like A Room with a View. And I don't know why this is so famous, but there's a paragraph in it that goes like this. Only connect. That was the whole of her sermon. Only connect the prose and the passion, and both will be exalted, and human love will be seen at its height. Live in fragments no longer. It's a very flowery paragraph. I don't like the paragraph at all, but I do like the first line and the last line. Connecting with your students and not living in fragments. And it worries me that that kind of classroom fragments education. Anything where we have people looking at their own technology all the time. And this is happening in some schools, and I hope it doesn't spread across too much of the world, where schools are importing some kind of online course which downloads onto the machines, and that's where the students work from. It saves money on books. The person I hold responsible for this is Arnold Schwarzenegger. Have you ever heard of Arnold Schwarzenegger? Okay, who is Arnold Schwarzenegger? Exactly. The point is he was governor of California. And when he became governor of California, he sat down and said, so what are the problems we have? No, I can't do it. Sorry. He's got this funny Australian accent. He's got a really and he doesn't open his mouth properly. Okay. No, seriously, he tried to work hard as a Republican governor of California. But he found out from his education department that a really serious problem for local education authorities was children suing the school for back problems because they were carrying so many books to school. And you know, this is a serious problem in California. They were spending millions of dollars paying recompense to students who said they had back problems. And he said, the way to stop doing this is to have no books. If we had no books, this would stop happening. It would save our local education authorities millions and millions of dollars if there were no books. So Arnold Schwarzenegger looked into book-free education. And the most obvious way of book-free education is to have everybody have a computer and for the school to download the course that they want. No books, and it's cheaper. And that, unfortunately, in some states, in the United States, is the way education is going. Get rid of books, provide the material via the computer, and have the students working on a computer all the time. I'm not sure that's a great idea. So, let's see how much you remember. I'm going to show you my 7 points, and then I want you to talk to people around you. And if you have a question, okay, talk to what I talked about. And if you've got any questions about any of it, you don't have to agree with anything I say, but I'd like you just to talk to each other and maybe come up with a question in a couple of minutes, okay? Anybody want to ask a question? Right.
Because I remember you saying you wrote yesterday, I don't know how it works.
Yes, it depends. Yeah, I don't know, or it depends. Okay, I mean, let me just say, you know, I find giving talks a problem only because I know I'm talking too much. You know, that when you give a talk, people expect you to talk and say something, whereas in a classroom, I prefer you to do all the talking and me to just listen to what's going on. So that's a bit of a problem for me. But I'm doing another talk tomorrow, which I think is actually quite good. It's about students who are actually frightened of being in the classroom. But before we go, I want to show you something interesting. If you think your working life is difficult, I found this teacher's contract from 1923 in the state of Ohio. A teacher's contract, and it starts off, this is an agreement between Miss. So they know the teacher is going to be a woman. So let's look at the first part. These are the things that Miss X must not do. She must not get married. While she's a teacher, she must not get married. She must not keep company with men. Okay? She must be at home between the hours of 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. unless in attendance at school functions. Look at number 4. She must not loiter in downtown ice cream stores. She must not eat ice cream if she wants to be a teacher, okay? She must not leave town at any time without the permission of the chairman of the board of trustees. Not even leave town. I mean, this is funny. It's wonderful, isn't it? You're all going, huh? But it's actually hilarious. This is hilarious. Not to smoke cigarettes. Well, I agree with that. Not to drink beer, wine, or whiskey. This contract becomes null and void immediately if the teacher is found drinking beer, wine, or whiskey. It says, yeah, yes, okay. I love this. Not to ride in a carriage or automobile with any man except her brother or father. Not to dress in bright colors and not to dye her hair. Right, so if you wanted to be a teacher in 1923, and on top of that, she has to sweep the classroom floor at least once daily, to scrub the classroom floor with hot water and soap at least once weekly, clean the blackboard, and to start the fire at 7 a.m. There's the one-room schoolhouse again. Oops, sorry. So, that is currently my blog. There's not much on there. I don't blog very much. I don't blog at all anymore. But if you want to find out some of my past talks and past articles, you can go to my blog. It's kenwilsonelt.wordpress.com. This is my Facebook. I really approve of Facebook. I have 4,000 friends on Facebook, almost all of whom are English teachers. And Facebook is a very good forum for English teachers. If you join, there's lots of good free materials and things like that. So if you're not a member of Facebook, as a teacher, you should be really. And if you want to argue with me about anything, my email address is kenwright@btinternet.com. You will see those again. I'm just going to say, that's it. Thank you very much indeed for being such a nice group of people. And now give me a round of applause, okay? You don't do applause in this country, do you? That's not very good. No, but it's all right. It doesn't matter, doesn't it?